Yes, folks, it's Tales from the Jails with John G. Sutton. And my hair's getting out of hand, isn't it? Yeah, I wasn't here yesterday. Family emergencies. We've got to deal with them, haven't we? Listen, I'm going to talk today a little bit about the problem that's being presented with the forthcoming release of the killer of James Bulger, the little boy who was murdered in Merseyside in Liverpool 30 years ago, when the two young lads, well, they were 9 or 10, weren't they, abducted the boy in a shopping mall, took him for a walk and murdered him at the side of a railway track. It struck me reminiscent. It made me think of the murders of Mary Bell, when she murdered a boy, and she went back after she'd murdered the boy and hidden his body on a building site. Mary Bell went back and carved her name into the corpse. A Strange Case of Mary Bell. It's a book. I highly recommend that you read it. I have met Mary Bell. She was a prisoner at Style, the women's prison in Cheshire, and she was a strange lady. She'd got her hair cut extremely short and appeared to be adopting a lesbian lifestyle. But this was way back in 1979, 1980, that time. It was when they were refurbishing Style Prison and upgrading all the heating systems. I wasn't working as a discipline officer at Style. I was working on the security staff there to escort the builders. But it was still inside the prison, and Mary Bell was there. Mary Bell had an encounter with my father, who at the time was a detective sergeant with the police, and she'd made a complaint that one of the housemasters at the remand centre where she was being held at the time had sexually interfered with her. I remember my dad telling me, he said, she's a very strange young lady. And he didn't believe for 1 minute what she'd told him, and he questioned the school and the teachers and all the rest of it. So that was a weird encounter, that. Myself and my dad both had encounters with Mary Bell. I believe she's been released into the community now, has adopted another name and living a responsible life. So that's to be something to be thankful for. Right at the moment there are complaints by the family of James Bulger, saying that his brother's saying that the perpetrators of this murder must never be released. They must serve indefinite life sentences. Well, as they've already done approximately 30 years, it's going to be very difficult to argue that before the parole board, and the likelihood is that they'll be, or certainly at least one of them, will be released into the community with a different name, so we will not know where he is. But there is one of them. I won't name no names, but there were 2 of the boys, and one of them, I believe, has been showing a pattern of reoffending, so he may not be released. But nonetheless, it's at that time in their sentences when they're approaching parole, and there are people speaking out. The family of James Bulger are speaking out, saying that they should not be released. You may have opinions on that. 30 years in prison is a long time, but the boy that they killed, that's eternity, and the family, they bear that terrible pain forever. Imagine the horror of seeing your little boy being taken away by 2 strangers and knowing what subsequently happened. It's a very horrible crime. I remember it at the time because the Radio City disc jockey Pete Price was up in arms about this. He led a campaign against the killers. I remember it well because I knew Pete Price. I've been on his show a few times in Radio City. And here we have, folks, my book. You don't forget how it's doing well now. It's starting to sell properly. I hope you're all aware of this book. HMP Manchester Prison Officer. It says here, shocking, darkly hilarious and eye-opening. The treacherous attacks from Freemason prison officers were terrifying. That review is by Sean Atwood. He lists himself as a true crime author and YouTuber. Sean Atwood has a program on YouTube, a true crime channel. I've been interviewed on it a number of times. So there you are, HMP Manchester Prison Officer. I highly recommend the audio book, which is available on Audible if you're a member of that. The actor reading the book is Alan Turton, who was in, I believe he was in Soldier and Brookside and various other programs like that. But he has a very appropriate voice for reading the book. And whilst this is a short little today, because I'm still dealing with family issues, I'm now going to read you a poem, not sing you a song. This is a poem I have read before, but it's one that I feel I can bring something new to each time I read it, actually. This is by Lewis Carroll. It's Jabberwocky. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogroves and the moan raths outgrabe. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the jub bird, and shun the frumious bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand. Long time the maxim foe he sought. So rested he by the tumtum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as in uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock, with eyes of flame, came whiffling through the tugly wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through, the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went galumphing back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. O frabious day, Callooh, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wave. All mimsy were the borogroves, and the moan raths outgrabe. Jabberwock by Lewis Carroll. More ahead. Thank you for watching Tales from the Jails. This is John G. Sutton. If you're all watching, say, we'll meet again. We certainly will. What's up with my thing? Here we go. Bye.